let me go into one specific example of where regulation will have unintended consequences, which we'll call dislocations in the market, but it's going to take us in the right direction. So, for example, SFDR or many of the other regulators are all agreeing at least on one criteria, which is carbon footprints and carbon intensity measures across portfolios. Going in, let's unpack that for a bit more. It's a question of saying, well, what is your emissions divided by the enterprise value? Sometimes it could be seen as the emissions divided by the revenues of companies. Let's agree, which one are we doing? Well, let's pick enterprise value. Well, that means that companies can take on more debt, and lo and behold, your enterprise value is much bigger and your carbon footprint is much lower. Are you including scope 3 or not? Well, can you offset that with carbon offsets? So if I'm a private equity firm and I'm saying, well, I need to adhere to what my incentives are telling me, I need to report my cross-portfolio carbon footprint. Let me take on lots of debt and buy lots of carbon offsets, and there you go. Voila, I'm at net zero. Unless there's some standards which come in and say you've got to be science target as SBTI, so science-based targets, which will actually adapt and go into the sophistication of saying that no, you need to do as much as you can to reduce your actual emissions before being able to offset them. How do we measure scope 3? So once we even agree on a single metric and on a single purpose, the nuances are so much more complex. The standardization is necessary, and there is areas where there is subjectivity, but there are areas where there definitely is a need for an accelerated, cohesive approach.
Sustainability perspective, it really is so multifaceted that there are numerous different challenges or different ways to address those challenges dependent on the seat that you're in, dependent on the organization, dependent on the department, dependent on the industry, dependent on all of these different factors. And sustainability really is permeating every single different one of these.
One of the reasons why we see this confusion, lack of clarity, is because there is an intent gap. I love this term, this intent gap, which is the gap between intent and action. Because while it's a great marketing conversation for everybody, it spearheads a lot of brouhaha, but organizations don't want to invest themselves in putting structures supporting it within their, constructs. And why is that? There's some kind of an either or, because executives behave as though they must choose between the largely social benefits of the sustainable products or processes and financial costs of doing so. If you look at it, isn't it simply about the fact that if you were to actually become environment friendly by reducing the inputs that you use, you would actually end up lowering costs. I think organizations are not really very clear on the focus between the top line and the bottom line, and that's what leads to this entire confusion at their end.